Hi, my name is Wells Shoemaker. I'm a retired pediatrician, but still a very active woodturner. And today we're going to talk about biomechanics, call it ergonomics. Of course, when we talk about turning, when you watch demonstrations, much of the discussion centers on the tools. The tool we're going to talk about today is us. We're going to talk about using our muscles efficiently to reduce the stress, and mostly so that we enjoy this process more. And importantly, with fewer risks of getting tired and sore during the day, and fewer risks of having overuse injuries that will plague you in the future. The muscles that we're going to concentrate on today are some of our bigger muscles. The biggest muscles in our body pretty much start below the waist. The theme of our discussion today is how to use those big, strong muscles in a way that allows us to turn more efficiently with lower risks. If I lock my knees and stand with my ankles touching each other rigidly, standing at attention, can't move it very far. If I try to slide it sideways, I'd lock up. Same if I go the other direction. If we spread our legs a little bit, not quite a foot, we point our toes slightly outwards and we flex our knees. Now watch what I can do. I can slide way to one side and way to the other side smoothly, and I can keep this level the whole time by shifting our weight. Well, let's see what that side-to-side motion looks like with a piece of wood that's going at 2,500 RPMs. I'm going to pin this down, but I'm not going to squeeze it. I'm just going to pin it down, start up here, shift my weight, I could do this for spindle after spindle for hours without getting tired. We're going to transition now to talk about other kinds of work that we do. We're going to face off a platter blank. We're going to cut the exterior of a bowl blank, and we're going to carve out the inside of a bowl, emphasizing how we use our muscles and our posture to drive that gouge safely, effectively, and with pleasure. Well, this is a laminated walnut platter blank. One side that will eventually be the open internal part is fixed with a very sturdy faceplate. I'm going to mount this on the lathe. We're almost ready to go. I think we'll bring up the tailstock. We might get away without it with the sturdiness of this faceplate, but it's just not smart. If you have a safety feature like the tailstock, not to use it. One thing we don't want to do if it's a very narrow platter, however, is put a pinhole into our blank. So I'm just going to use a little spacer device. Now it's not going anywhere. This is laminated, which means that at these joints, there's some irregularities. When this is going around and around very fast, these irregularities are going to be quite bumpy. Put on my glasses, drop my face shield, and grab a nice sharp 1/2-inch bowl gouge. This is one of my favorite tools. Probably do 90% of my work with this tool. But how are we going to approach this? If we just stuck the gouge in here, it would jump like crazy. If I tried to do this going flat across, it would be bumping and jumping, and I could get the job done, but it wouldn't be much fun. What we're going to use instead, I'm going to use this curved, sharp samurai sword edge of the bowl gouge. I'm going to hold this in place with my hand, but I'm not white knuckling it. I want to be able to slide this smoothly. I don't want to be fighting with myself. So my job with my left hand is to hold this smoothly. With my right hand, I'm gripping this tool up against my hip. Well, now it's hooked up to something that weighs more than 150 pounds, and it's not going to wander. I'm going to take several consecutive bites, about 1/4 of an inch each time, going to move all the way across, and that will take out most of those irregularities. Then I'm going to drop my handle even more, ride the bevel, and just clean off all that corduroy. I'm going to use my hand to hold this as a fulcrum, and I'm going to move my body using those strong trunk muscles. We'll bring this up to speed. Now we're going to take bites. Hand is going to hold this as a fulcrum. Let's see what we've got. I still have irregularities, so we have to go a little bit deeper. Getting there, not quite. What's important to notice is that I'm cutting face grain. I'm not sliding this in, catching in grain. I'm cutting face grain, and these are nice cuts. It's actually making shavings as opposed to just making dust. Ready to clean it off. On the bevel, down anchored to my leg, legs are bent, and I'm just going to lean back. I've got some irregularities at the edge. I think I'm going to knock those edges off so that they don't cut me. I'm going to do that the same way with the little bites. The important thing is that these little bites are being driven by my hip. My hand is just holding this in place, and my hip is doing the rotation. I'm not trying to overpower this. I just let my hip do the work, and this is making a nice regular edge. So next thing we're going to do is shape the outside of a bowl. Turn this down to a very slow velocity. I'm going to hold this with my hands from the outside. I'm not going to grab it because I don't want this to scrape my fingers. And as soon as this catches, all I have to do is move my hand sideways to come apart. So I'm going to get aimed in. It's going to bite. Let go. That way I don't get injured. Put in the spindle lock. Finish this by hand. There we are. Definitely going to use the tailstock now. What we're going to do is we're going to create roughly a catenary shape curve on this. Once again, I've got the bowl gouge down low so that I'm cutting on this edge. And if you do this just turning it by hand, you can see that I'm making pretty little shavings. Hand, it's okay to put your fingers around if you wish, but you're not grabbing it. You want to be able to slide using your hand just to hold it down. My right hand is gripping this on my leg, so it's anchored to me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk around it with my bent knees, and I'm using my legs to pull this around. I'm not pushing it with my arms. If I were doing it with my arms, I'd get tired and my fingers would get sore. We can run it a little bit faster once we get it smooth, but I'm just going to come off with my little samurai sword edge and just take off little bits at a time, not trying to do a whole lot. And I just start the cut and lean back. So you can see this is a pretty smooth cut. We've got a lot of work to do here, but I think the important thing is I'm moving it with my trunk. I'm not trying to wrestle it with my arms. So we've taken off an angle here. It's not really a curve yet. If we want it to curve, as I move around, I can lift the handle a little bit and it'll follow around the curve. I'll show you what I mean. Nice cuts, sharp tool. This is very dry, very hard madrone, and it's just cutting like butter. It's a little squatty here, but I'm going to make a tenon. So I'm going to take off a little bit of wood here so I can look at my final shape. Let's take off to make a tenon. Bite, 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 bite. So this is not the finished tenon, but I think that's what I wanted to show. Again, if I can walk through this without it running, I'm holding it down and I'm sliding. My knees are bent. I'm moving my weight mostly on my right leg, now shifting over to my left leg and working around. And you can do that in one smooth motion and you get a nice smooth contour. Next, I want to show you how the right body mechanics can make carving the interior of a bowl smooth and easy. But before we demonstrate, let me make sure everyone understands the tricky geometry of this operation. Here's a bowl blank mounted on the lathe as seen from above. We need to make the walls much thinner and more uniform in thickness, of course. Here's our bowl gouge, this one with the 50-degree bevel. To make the bevel angle so obvious you can't ignore it, we have attached a blue line to it. The tool wants to follow the path of this bevel. Never lose sight of this critical concept. I want to pierce the edge of the rim about here. If we just push the gouge straight in along a path different from this blue line, the tool will want to skate to the left, to the outside, and in doing so, it's going to tear up a lot of beautiful wood. Not good. To start a controllable cut, I need to align the blue bevel line perpendicular to the edge of the bowl rim. To do that, I need to swing the tool's handle a long way away from my body. Now the tool will make a safe penetration into the wood, and it will create a tiny ledge, perhaps 1/8 of an inch deep. This ledge ensures that the tool cannot skate to the outside. As the cut progresses and as we advance the tool inward, the bevel angle has to change constantly. When I get near the center of the blank, this tool will be pointing 90 degrees away from its starting point. Okay, now watch me execute this maneuver on a real bowl blank made from fairly tough, dry cypress. Well, what we want to try to do is rotate this in and have it cut in rather than just stick it in. So I have to get down low. Okay, and now I'm going to lift the handle. Again, this is pointing straight in. Lift the handle and rotate it. What we've done is we've made a little ledge here. The bevel is riding on that ledge. I'm going to rotate this around till it's open. And now I'm just going to lean forwards. As I lean forwards, I'm also pulling this around to me. So it's like an ice cream scoop that I'm scooping into this. You can see now it's on the bevel. It can't go anywhere. It's safe. See the difference in the angle here already? Okay, now this is all the way around to me. I can now tie this into my trunk, and now it's got ballast behind it. I'm shifting my weight from my right leg now over to the left as I'm driving it inwards. And I would also mention that my left hand is pinning the gouge down. My right hand is pinning this to my trunk. And I'm just holding those stationary. I'm not really wiggling my fingers, and I'm not having to use a lot of power in my arms. Ledge. With the bevel on the ledge, it stays put. I'm ready to lean forwards into this. By now, I'm almost up to my trunk so I can hold it against my body. And I'm also changing this angle as I go around. Once I have it up to my tummy, then I can hold it still. My arms don't have to get tired. And I'm going to use my trunk to just push this forward in. This is a really beautiful piece of cypress. And with the cut going gradually and cleanly, you can really see what you're doing. It's not really torn up. And we're making really nice shavings. Well, we talked about ergonomics, using the strength of your large muscles to drive the tool and get smoother results and have more fun turning. But it wouldn't be proper to talk about ergonomics and wood turning without talking about ergonomics and sanding. Why? Because we may spend as much time sanding as we do actually cutting the wood. So the tools we use for sanding have a whole lot to do with the fatigue that you will feel at the end of the day. For many people, sanding isn't pleasurable, although I kind of like it. Maybe that's perverse. But I've experimented with quite a few different kinds of tools for sanding, and I want to show you what I think is important about choosing the right tool, and then we'll talk about how to position it with the wood as it's turning. So this is a very fine drill. It's designed mostly to drill holes down, although you can drill them sideways, and you'll see it's got a pistol grip. Now it takes 30 seconds to drill a hole. You can hold a big drill like this for 30 seconds and you won't notice much. But if you were sanding for 30 minutes with this drill, this is what's going to happen. You're holding it with your wrist. These are small muscles that are holding it, and this is a very heavy tool and it's pulling down. It's heavy. It's pulling down and it's putting a lot of stress on your wrist right here, and your wrist is going to complain. So use this tool to drill a hole, but if it's driving a sanding disc, you're going to get tired and your wrist is going to be sore and you won't like it. So I love this tool, I just don't love it for sanding. I'm going to put it down and pick up another one. This is another drill that everybody has now. I don't know anybody that doesn't have a battery-powered drill. Well, this is very heavy. Now, by holding it this way, it's a little more balanced than the pistol grip, but I've got this huge clunky thing holding it down. That's why I use a corded drill. This battery is too heavy, and if I tried to use this for an hour at a time, my hand would get really sore. My fingers would have a hard time opening and closing. They'd get tired, it would jiggle, the vibrations would be bad. So again, wonderful tool, but it's not useful for sanding. Could you do it for 5 minutes at a time, get away with it? Sure. But if you're a busy turner, this is not the tool you want to use. This one might be a little more like it. You see it's got the grip in the middle, so this is more balanced. It's not pulling my wrist down so much. So this is easier on my wrist. The problem with this drill is If you look at the label, it says it peaks out at 2,700 RPM. That's screaming. We don't need 2,700 RPMs. And if you have a sanding disc that's running super fast, it's going to heat up, it's going to lose grit, and it's going to heat the wood up as well, so you'll get surface checks. I like the fact that it's corded, so I can use it all day long and I don't have to keep charging batteries, but this is still not the right drill. Now we're getting warmer. Here's another drill. It's got a grip in the middle and it's balanced. It only draws 5 amps. That's good. You don't need a huge amount of power to drive a sanding disc. And it has a very nice smooth chuck, so I can run this with a glove on or without a glove on. I can run this and it won't chew up my fingers. If I hold my hand on this and I anchor it to my body, then this can run very, very comfortably for a long time and my hand isn't out in space. So this is a tool, it's a Ryobi. I researched a lot of these. This one has one really dramatic advantage. It peaks out at 1,600 RPMs instead of 2,000 or 2,700. It also has a very gradual, very delicate variable speed. So I can control the speed for this, but if it went screaming all the way to full, it's still not that bad. I like this tool so much that I have 5 of them. I have one for each grid of my sanding discs, and I can exchange them and I can process 10 bowls at a time and go very fast. So again, for a corded drill, this one's my favorite. There are others probably that you can find, but if you buy them at a big box store, make sure the guy lets you run it. You want to see if the trigger has a gradual control, and you want to make sure it doesn't run too fast. All of these have reversible switches. That's this little button here, and that's going to turn out to be essential for sanding, is to be able to reverse the direction. We'll talk about that when we show the sanding. I'm going to show you 2 more drills, but this is the one that I use for 98% of my work. This is an angle drill. This one is designed for wood turners. In fact, it was made by Wood Turners Wonders. Its maximum speed, not too bad. I mean, it runs at about 1,400, which is slow. That's at peak. But it's got a very delicate trigger to control the velocity. And it has this ergonomic grip. So I can grip that using the muscles of my forearm to pull this together. It grips very well, but even more important, it's got a fairly long body. So I can hold this with my hand and I can bring this up to my torso and I can move it using my legs as we've been discussing. One last drill. This is a right angle drill. These drills are designed to get into a tight spot. For example, if you want to drill a hole in the studs to run some Romex, you can reach inside with this and drill a little hole, and it's very handy. You couldn't fit a regular drill into that space. There are turners that really like these. I mean, Richard Raffin uses this in his demos. I don't like it for several reasons. Number one, it's got a metal chuck with a key, which is a nuisance. You lose the key. You can't hold it up here because it will tear your hands apart. That's surmountable, I guess, if you just take the discs on and off. But what I don't like about this is that you can't really see the back end. So if you're sanding, if this is running clockwise and this is coming up and the bowl is coming down, you can't see what's going on back here. And the edge of these discs will cut grooves and they'll mess up your work. So there's definitely a time and a place, I'm sure. I just never use this for turning, and I turn a lot of bowls. So here we are with my favorite sanding tool. How fast do we want this to run? The bowl itself, You don't want it to run too fast because the wood will heat up and you'll get heat checks and the paper will degrade. So this is going to be running at a fairly low RPM. This is fast enough. This is about 200 or 300. I want the drill to run 400 or 500 RPM, not much faster. What we also want is, if the wood is coming down, we want this to be coming in the opposite direction. So this is going up, this is coming down. And if I put it like that, it's very easy to hold it in one place. Think it's better the other way? If you run it the other way, this is going down and this is going down, and it's just going to want to chase itself all over the shop. We don't want that. Do we want to put this in and catch the leading edge, or do we want to catch the back edge? Up here, the wood isn't touching, and down here it is. And if this is running, the wood glides into the sandpaper, it sands gradually, and it doesn't dig in. Speaking of digging in, how hard should you push? Not that hard. Let the sanding machine do the work. Your job is just to hold it in place. And I do that with one hand here and one hand here. And I don't have my arms out trying to do that because I would get very tired in a hurry. So here we go. What I like to do is, I'm following a contour, is follow it so that it's constantly moving. I don't want to leave the sandpaper sitting in one place. But when we get to the middle, and I'm going to draw a little circle right there. This isn't moving nearly as fast as this is. If you put the sander there and you don't move it, it's going to dig a hole. So I usually just brush past that center. I don't dwell on it. So I'm just going to show you the motion, and we'll make a little bit of dust, but not too much. If you want to continue around the other side, this side is coming up, this side is going down. Fine. Sanding on a flat area, like the rim here, same thing. I want the rim to glide in with airspace and then come in contact when we're down low. Keep it moving. Go through each grit successively. If you don't, then you'll never get out the scratches from the previous one. But I think the main thing I wanted to emphasize for sanding is, number one, use a tool that's balanced, a tool that you can hold and you can grasp, a tool that doesn't run too fast. And when you're sanding, as much as you possibly can, brace it against your body. You can sand out here on outstretched arms, but it's going to be much harder on your wrist. You can sand for hours just using those, very simple little changes, and you'll find that you'll get the job done and it won't leave you sore. And if you don't sand, then don't turn in the first place, because when you finish something, what people are going to look at is the form from a distance, and the next thing they're going to do is they're going to feel it. So if you haven't sanded diligently, you're going to want that piece back, and you're going to want to fix it. So make sure it's ready to leave when it leaves home and goes home with somebody else. Thanks a lot.